Shabbat Shalom. For this particular meditation, we're going to focus on the themes that the Most High has given us in our Bible studies and our meditations since 2019, from 2019 up through the present time. So this meditation is actually part of a larger meditation that, if you're interested in it, I can put in the description. But in any case, Father, bless you as we listen to what he has for us to hear in Yeshua's name. This meditation is going to cover the annual guiding themes for our Sunday school and Bible study lessons that were given from 2019 to present. The Most High has always had witnesses to himself. That's who Yasharel as a nation was supposed to be. Yasharel as a nation was supposed to be the Most High's witness to the rest of the world, so that the rest of the world could see what the Most High has for that which he has created. Yasharel was never supposed to be the only repository of the will of the Most High, but Yasharel was supposed to be the point of contact for the rest of the world to see what the will of the Most High was, based on what heaven said, not based on an earthly understanding. Okay, so the Most High has always had witnesses. Now, if you're talking about in the Christian church, that's where your preachers, your teachers, your evangelists, all of those people, that's where they come in. That's really the purpose of all of those quote unquote ministries. That in and of itself was not supposed to be the making up of a religion. It was supposed to be the way that the Most High got his will into the hearts and minds of those in his creation. But he always does what he does with humankind through people, through other humans. That's why Yeshua had to come, but I'm getting ahead of it. But in any case, so as a Sunday school teacher, as a layman Bible teacher, the Most High would give me annual themes that would guide the study or the teaching for a particular calendar year. So back in 2019, there was this theme that the Most High gave that had actually been coming up from the people of the Most High that didn't actually even know that they were a people. That theme had been, you are the children of Yasharel. You have been in captivity and all of that goes along with it for 400 years, just like I told Abraham would happen, even though some people believe that prophecy was talking about the children of Yasharel in Egypt, but the children of Yasharel weren't in Egypt for 400 years under an oppressive state. It was less than 250 years. So that particular prophecy in Genesis chapter 15, the Most High was beginning to show his nation, your 400 years are up. And that happened in 2019. That became the theme. And in that theme, that's when the Most High's people were being awakened to the fact. Now, again, this was happening several years before. But by this time in 2019, the people of the book were being identified as the people of the book. And we were also being told that the time of the Gentiles, and all of us thought that's who we were, but that the time of the Gentiles, the real Gentiles, was coming to an end, and that the time of our deliverance was at hand. That message started becoming more and more prevalent in 2019. In 2020, the message was, it's going to get bumpy. And that played itself out in what we now know as that pandemic. And part of that pandemic was shutting down the society. Part of the society that was shut down was the church. And the Most High told us in the church why that was happening. It was because we were not being effective in the work of the ministry that he gave the church to do. The church had become useless for his purposes. So he just shut the whole thing down. And now, as that time has moved on, there are people who are trying to reestablish that old order. That's not going to work for those who may be wanting to do that. Those were landmarks we weren't supposed to have in the first place. Okay, we weren't supposed to come together to do church. We were supposed to be the church that came together for the purpose of doing the will of the Most High. And most of the doing of the will of the Most High happens outside of the four walls of churches, and certainly not just on Sunday morning or Wednesday Bible study. Okay, so he shut all that down. And then what he did was to use and utilize the current technology to still meet the needs of his people and to still get his word out. That's how everybody got on social media. And that's why social media was being used. Okay. So the Most High's will never stopped. That foolish rut that we were in, and a rut is a grave with two ends dug out. Okay. That foolish rut that we were in, that's what will stop. And so again, if you find yourself in that rut in 2024, my recommendation is follow the directive and the direction that the Most High is giving his people, because at this point in time, his people know this. Okay. And his people are beginning to move the way that he wants us to move. All right. So that going to get bumped, it also included what our enemy's desire was. See, we've always had an enemy, y'all, and it has nothing to do with skin color. Let me say that during this presentation also. This has to do with which God we're serving. Okay. So that skin color has been exploited by the enemy, and it has morphed into what we call white supremacy, but it's much deeper than that. But that enemy does have a plan for this planet, just like the Most High does. The Most High's plan for the planet is to save it, okay, from complete destruction. The plan of the enemy is to destroy the society. And so part of that destruction is the culling of the population. That's what the enemy was going to do and is still planning on doing with that pandemic. The pandemic was a pilot program, if you will. Now that things have progressed, you're going to see the enemy of mankind moving in a much more purposeful way, a much more controlling way to cull the population. It's not going to just be about Black folk being oppressed anymore, and you're beginning to see that. But in 2020, the Most High was telling us then, as his people, it's going to get bumpy. Now, the other part that's not here is, but I got you. Okay, that's an important part that I should have listed on the screen. Okay, now in 2021. What he told us was stay the course. I gave you an assignment. Do your assignment. You have seen correctly that you are the people. You have seen correctly that the time of the Gentiles is over and the time of your deliverance is at hand. And now I've given you a period of readjustment. So now that you have been readjusted, move in the direction that I gave you to move. Well, what is that? In 2022, he made it more plain. He said, I want you to go repair the breach. What is the breach? The breach is the hole in the wall of protection that has been around the Most High's people and his kingdom, because the Most High's people are his kingdom. And so our job was to, first of all, understand that we had a kingdom, that we were in a kingdom. It was destroyed because of our unbelief, if you will. And now that we have been in captivity and have been delivered, he's going to take us right back to do what we should have been doing all along. So in order to do that, all of the ramifications of the destruction of our society, we need to rebuild that. Okay, so repair the breach, go back and rebuild. And part of that is walking around the heritage of the Most High, which is his people, and rebuilding that wall. What is the wall? He told us the wall is the leadership that he has placed in the community. This is an area that I don't think we've talked enough about. The Most High is orderly. Everything that he does with his people, he has assigned servants, stewards, if you will, of his purpose for his people. Those are the leaders, okay? And part of what we are seeing, and what part of what we did see, even back as far as 2019, is the leadership in our nation, in our communities, is dysfunctional. Because the leadership is dysfunctional, that's why the jackals and the dogs and the enemy in general can come against us, because there's nobody on post. The people who would be leaders are too busy arguing with one another. And in case you didn't know it, that's how Jerusalem got destroyed when the Romans destroyed it. The Romans actually were not stronger than the children of Yasharel. The Romans were able to sack Jerusalem because Yasharel was fighting itself on the inside of those walls. So what we were to do in 2022 is to go back to that foundation, rebuild that foundation, which includes leadership. So now what we should be doing, even in this day and time, is putting and first of all, acknowledging who the Most High's real leaders are, and then putting ourselves in subjection to that leadership, because he has a plan. It's not that the leaders are the only ones with the plan, but as he has a plan, he always has someone to execute that plan. Okay, so that was what we were told in 2022. In 2023 and 2024, we were told what we were actually rebuilding. We're rebuilding a nation, not a church. We're rebuilding a nation. The concept of church is that which the Most High wants us to lay aside, because we have created that church in our image and after our likeness. He can't work with that, because when we're doing that, we don't see that we're a nation. We think that we're just a bunch of individuals. So our job is to acknowledge first that the Most High's people are a nation. They're not a religious organization. And in that nation is comprised of tribes. So if you know that you are a nation comprised of tribes, one of the tasks is to find yours, find your tribe, and then use the identifiers that the Most High gives you. So those who believe in and follow the Most High's word are his people, and in those groups of people, you will find your tribe. You can't find your tribe among your enemy. Your enemy is not your tribe. And again, I'm not talking about skin color. That's where that idea of all skin folk are not kinfolk. We have enemies that look just like us. And most of this last half century, it's those people who have been in positions of leadership. That's why our community is in the situation that it's in. Those people are not obligated to us. Those people do not work for us. Those people work for the people who pay for them to be in those positions. So unless our community actually paid for those people, they're not our people. But we do have people, and this is the time that we should be identifying those people using the same criteria as 1 Timothy chapter 3, which is the qualifications for an elder. Those are the types of people that the Most High wants as the leaders. And it's always the people that that those who qualify have been working with and among. The people already know who our leaders are. They already know. What the Most High is saying is, if you use my blueprint, you find your tribe, and in those tribes you will find your leaders, and that's how you will begin to build the nation. Now we get to for those who will continue to the theme for 2025. There is another sign marking a major shift in the spirit world, and please listen to this and meditate on it. Remember that scripture in Revelation that said, he who now lets until he's taken away. Okay, in other words, there are angels in the four winds right now. They are already there, okay? And they have been told up to this point in time, it's not time yet. I don't want you coming down here, because when they come, you're not going to be able to stop them. I don't care how deep your bunker is, they will find you. Here's the theme for this coming year, and probably more than just this coming year. The hand of restraint has gone down, and those angels are coming. The harvest has begun. That is the theme. The Most High is sending his angels to begin the harvesting and the separation of the good seed from the evil seed. Now, what is being talked about? That's in the Gospel of Luke, where it talks about the parable of the sowing of the good seed and the sowing of the tares. It's the parable of the wheat and the tares. We are in that time. What time? If you remember the parable, those who were working in the vineyard told the master of the vineyard, we went out to the field and there were tares sown among the wheat. Didn't you sow good seed? Well, somebody sowed something else, because there's good seed and bad seed, which is describing the world that we're living in right now. Okay. And the Most High said, an enemy has done this. And so the disciples said, or the servants said, well, do you want us to go pluck up the tares? And he said, no, let them grow together, or else when you pluck up the tares, you might pluck up the wheat too. This is a metaphor for how we are to operate. Yasharel, listen to me. Stop trying to pull up tares. That's not your job. What we're supposed to be doing is following the blueprint. And the blueprint says, get yourself together. The blueprint says, work on the beam that's in your eye. Then if somebody needs your help to take a speck out of theirs, you'll be able to see. There's too many people calling themselves by the name of the Most High who can't see their own beam, but they can see somebody's speck perfectly. And so all of our time is spent debunking one another, showing how one another is ignorant, showing how one another does not have the intellectual capacity that I have, showing that if you don't listen to me, you couldn't possibly know what you're talking about. All of that being done among church folk and Hebrew Israelites is what the Most High shut the church down for. We need to stop that. He's already given us an assignment. We need to be thinking about, what does it look like to have a functioning, vibrant community? That's what the good seed produces. But what the theme is the angels are coming now. They're doing the separating. We're going to be separated. It's just that we don't do that. That is above our pay grade. What we do is what he tells us to do. Envision the world that I have for you, because you're going to be running it. See, everybody's waiting to go to heaven. The kingdom of heaven, as the scripture said about Yeshua, is among you and is here. So the kingdom of heaven is what is about to manifest itself in its fullness. At the very least, y'all, that's 1,000 years. So there's a lot that we should be doing and can be doing that has nothing to do with trying to make some other grown person be and do what my image of them is. Again, the Most High did not tell any of us to do that. And I know it's very easy to do. It's much easier to recognize the faults of other people than it is to repent of your own sin. But in this time, and as we continue to build upon the blueprint that he's given us, he's not telling us to spend all this time debunking folks, or talking about, see, I told you that that preacher wasn't right. First of all, do you go? Never mind. Let me stop. All right, so that's the blessing of how the Most High has been working just through this one servant. Okay, since 2019, there have always been given themes to guide the meditation, themes to guide the study. And anyone who is interested in that is certainly encouraged to pursue it as well. But what I do know is that I didn't come up with these themes. Okay. If this comes from heaven, there are lots of other people who are saying the exact same thing. So it's not that we don't need validation. The Father will validate himself. But what he wants us to know and to understand is he will never leave us. He will never forsake us. He will always give us instructions on how to live, how to move, and to how to have our being. Why? It's because he loves us, and he wants us to show the love that he has shown us to others. And so we can't do that if our minds are all cloudy with the things of this satanic system that he's calling us out of. So the word that hasn't been mentioned, but it is a reality, is he still wants us to come out of Babylon. Babylon is fallen, and that reality is going to take care of itself. We don't have to do anything about it. We just have to come out of it. And what do we do instead? He's already laid that out. So that's what we have for our understanding on this Shabbat. Father, bless you and keep you. Father, make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Father, lift up his countenance